Yet still I know you are the keeper of my days. Though I am small, I know you hold my hand, my precious Lord and God. I do not understand your mind, yet still I know you set the synapses of time. Though I am lost, I know you light my path, my precious Lord and God.
I'm an artist, and I'm concerned with putting us in contact with invisible things through music and helping people pray and helping people believe that the love of God is real and accessible to them. Like, these are the things that kind of occupy my, I guess if I were to have like a mission. And then beyond that, just trying to let the songs listen to what the songs want to say. And sometimes the songs want to say something that is challenging. Sometimes they want to say something that is consoling, just like Jesus did. He was both challenging and consoling. And so my whole goal with that was like, well, I just want Jesus to have a say in this conversation, and it seemed like the best way to say it in that moment was to say the opposite, and then just let that hang there.
Blessed are the powerful, blessed are the rich, blessed are the merciless and the hypocrites. They will inherit the empires passing. It's the American gospel. Blessed are the superstars, blessed are the famous, blessed are the ones who make their faces ageless. They will inherit the magazine covers of the American gospel. Come to me, those who have something to give. Come to me, those who are likely to win. Come to me, those who are ruthless and proud of it. Oh, come pledge, come swear, come vote for the American gospel. Don't wait, come trade your soul for the American gospel. Blessed are the speech police, fundamentalists. Blessed are the rioters raising clenching fists. They will be filled with empathy for all except their enemies. Come to me if you would take up the sword, a citizen honest, a patriot pure. Come to me, all who are willing to kill in the war. For country, for culture and God and the American gospel. For yours is more and more of the American gospel. Blessed are the powerless, blessed are the poor, blessed are the merciful, blessed are the pure, for they will inherit the kingdom of heaven. And that's the heart of the gospel.
Today, I'm joined by singer-songwriter Jon Guerra. Ooh, I'm so excited for you guys to hear his music. I'm sure that you're going to be able to connect No matter where you are in your faith, whether you're deconstructing, whether you're not, he provides some solace for the soul. He's challenges us, makes us think, and allows us to just rest in God. He's written albums that include songs like American Gospel and Citizens. And now he has an album out called Jesus, where it just really focuses on a lot of the words of Jesus in music form. We talk about the wild Jesus of the Gospels and why John feels that quiet is often more powerful than noise in Christian music. So, if you've ever longed for God but couldn't really feel like you could go back to the local church that you were at, if you are at a church and are really happy there and are looking for some more beautiful worship music, this one's for you. Welcome back, friends. Today we have such a treat. I want to welcome Jon Guerra. Thanks for being
Hey.
here, Jon.
Thanks for having me, Alexis.
Jon is a musician and modern day psalmist. His music lives at the intersection of devotion and disruption, offering solace for the deconstructing soul and wonder for the weary believer. Jon's known for albums like Keeper of Days, Ordinary Ways, American Gospel, and Jesus, works that draw you inward, inviting reflection, lament, and hope. His EP, American Gospel, gives language to deep ache in many of us. The tension between faith and empire, nationalism and discipleship. Through Jon's lyrics, we're drawn back to Jesus, the Jesus who flips the tables, who centers the poor and calls us into embodied love. What I love that you've done, Jon, is collaborations with communities like the Porter's Gate and contributed to climate vigil songs, blending this lament and justice into music. Jon and his wife Valerie also compose for film. Together, they scored Terrence Malick's A Hidden Life. Oh, you guys, it's so beautiful. They are on the team for his forthcoming Way of the Wind. Jon reminds us that even in our questioning, that worship is still possible. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you today. So welcome and thank you for your work.
Thanks so much, Alexis. So happy to be here.
I'd love to ask you a little bit about your faith and creative journey and how music and God came together for you. So, what drew you first towards devotional songwriting?
Yeah, the kind of music and God awakening happened simultaneously. I was 12. My family had just moved across the country. It was right before I was going into eighth grade and didn't have any friends in this new town that I was living in. And my mom sent me on a trip with my new youth group and was not into what was happening on that trip. I didn't know anybody. And at night, the youth pastor would get up with his guitar and lead, the 10 of us middle school kids in singing, and it was very unplugged. We were just in some basement of some church, and we'd sit in a circle, and he'd sing these songs that everybody seemed to know, but I didn't know, and was not into it until as often happens on these youth trips, maybe second to last night, I kind of had an experience of God that changed my life. I mean, I sort of felt like somebody was watching me. I suddenly felt that all the things I'd heard about God's love were true, and I thought it was the music. So I went up to the youth pastor afterwards, and I said, "Whoa, what were those songs? Like that something different was, happening tonight, or that sounded different to me." He's like, "No, man, I think you just had an experience of God, and that's very normal with music, especially with art." I'm like, "Well, I want to do it. Is it hard?" And he looked at me and kind of just like almost looked through me and just said, "Actually, it's not very hard. I actually think you'd be really good at it. You should just give it a shot." And gave me some sheets with some chords on, little letters above words, chord charts. And I was like, "What are these?" Like, "Oh, those are chords." So I went back and I took my allowance money to the local music store, got a little chord book. My mom had an acoustic guitar from when she was in college that I picked up and started teaching myself kind of how to play guitar. And that's kind of where it started. And it was very much like every time I would play a chord that sounded kind of good, it felt like I was lifted to the heavens. It's like it just kind of it was this deepening, and frankly, I'm still in many ways trying to get back to that room when I was 12. I still think that the power, for those of us who are wired in the way that I'm wired, which is I think increased sensitivity, have an aesthetic sensibility, and just kind of art moves me very deeply, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whether it's a mountain, whether it's my wife, whether it's my daughter's face, whatever it is. I just feel like I'm kind of attentive to some of these things in ways that it just moves me very deeply. And so music, as I was learning music, every new thing I would learn was almost like a deepening into this other reality, which I went to Bible school and I've read hundreds of books about what I think is actually happening. But I think at minimum, beauty puts us in contact with invisible things. We are creatures that exist on two landscapes, the spiritual landscape and the material landscape. And the more we're rooted in the spiritual landscape, the deeper our lives become, and the more we're able to, I think, withstand and become sturdy towards maybe the more material storms and winds and tornadoes. It feels more like tornado weather these days. So beauty and music have been that for me, and that's kind of what I hope they're still about for other people.
One of the songs, American Gospel, that's moved so many people. I want to tell you a little quick story about that. So as I was first forming the Sacred Slope and trying to figure out what that means, I have a good friend who's a worship leader, but is in deep lament about what's going on with a lot of the things in Empire right now. We talk about, gosh, we miss music that's in the Christian space. It's hard sometimes to find music that we can really rest in and connect with. So I wanted to create like a recommendations list in the Sacred Slope. And I asked my friend, what's the first song you can come up with? And it was your song, it was American Gospel. And I was like, of course. Because re-listening to it and thinking about it is like, yes, this is exactly, I think, what you've hit a lot of people with in that form and that art. So can I ask you a little bit about that song? What pushed you to write American Gospel? What was the turning point for you? And what kind of response have you received from different types of communities? Because that was really brave.
Yeah. I think the specific way in which I'm dumb is that it didn't feel brave. It feels like a very Christian song, like a
Yeah,
quintessentially Christian song. So
absolutely.
it's literally just taking the Beatitudes of the person who is the center of the Christian faith and just in a tongue-in-cheek way flipping it on its head to the degree that it hits people and that it kind of pokes people. I don't think it's the artist's job to necessarily worry about the effects. I think it's our job to worry about the creation of the thing and doing it with as much integrity and honesty and ingenuity. As artists, we're concerned about the form and the fundamentals and doing it and just getting better, because for an artist, the process is its own reward. That the end is the process. Like you work so hard for what? What is the success? Well, the success is the ability to keep doing it. It's like that's what you get at the end of life as an artist. And so when I put that out, it just felt like a fun way to talk about the thing that I had been talking about and reading about for a long time. I'd put out a song called Citizens 4 years before that on Keyboard Day. And that was a little bit more of a song that kind of captured my yearning, maybe some of the pain of seeing people that I loved and respected seemingly turn a blind eye to the heart of God. And so kind of the pain and the earnest, like, God, what's going on was sort of in that song. Was a little fatigued of that, I guess, mode. And you can only do that for so long before you have to figure out what to do next, at least artistically. So it was another election year, right? And was just like, I just want Christ to have a voice in the conversation at this point. And that's it. Like,
Absolutely.
Jon Guerra doesn't need to say anything else. Like I've said kind of what I'm here to say. I'm an artist and I'm concerned with putting us in contact with invisible things through music and helping people pray and helping people believe that the love of God is real and accessible to them. Like these are the things that kind of occupy I guess if I were to have like a mission. And then beyond that, just trying to let the songs listen to what the songs want to say. And sometimes the songs want to say something that is challenging. Sometimes they want to say something that is consoling, just like Jesus did. He was both challenging and consoling. And so my whole goal with that was like, well, I just want Jesus to have a say in this conversation. And it seemed like the best way to say it in that moment was to say the opposite and then just let that hang there.
Is that kind of what's led to this album that you have out now about Jesus? And
Yeah.
oh man, it's been it's been just so nice to just really sit in music form with the words of
Mm,
Jesus.
I'm so
Um, and yeah, it's really kind of talking about that. Like you're really just letting Jesus speak for himself
yeah.
on this album, right? So can you talk a little bit more about that and why you think sometimes it feels so relevant to why we kind of need that right now?
Yeah, I'm as much of a Christian now. I think I'm more of a Christian now than I ever have been. And by that, I simply mean I really think there's something deeply compelling and worshipable about Jesus Christ. You read through the Gospels the way I have been the past, almost exclusively the past year or two, and it's just tremendous who you discover there. There's these stories and stories and stories in the Gospels of Jesus resisting being claimed by any particular religious sect. He was almost antagonistic with the people that would come to him from these, whether it's a Pharisee or whether it's a Sadducee, they'd come to him and they'd almost, at first, you almost feel like they're trying to like, hey man, like you're doing some cool stuff, healing people. Like, tell us about that. And he responds less with, yeah, cool. Like, let me tell you, this is actually what I'm about. And he responds with, you brood of vipers, who told you to flee from the coming, he responds with, well, yeah, I am. I am Nicodemus when he came to him. He said, you speak of the kingdom of God. Can you tell me about the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus, well, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, unless you're born again. Like he always is both upping the ante, like, you think you understand me. Actually, let me say something that challenges you. For the purpose of what? Well, the purpose was a deepening. Everything Jesus talked about was a deepening of the stakes and of the terms of the conversation. So they want to talk about Rome, right? They want to talk about Israel, and they want to talk about why these people are oppressing us and when we're going to get the power again. And he's like, I have no interest in talking about that. Unless you're born again, you will never see the kingdom, you know, unless when he talks about eating my flesh and drinking my blood, it's like 6 verses in a row where he literally says that, which is almost like, okay, we get it, man. But it's like he's almost insisting, no, you have to take me at my own terms. And my terms are not the ones that you're bringing to me. And they're still not the ones that we're bringing. And I think living in that both devotionally, being challenged by that personally, I kind of was like, this is actually where, Peter says, you have the words of life. Like these are the words of life, both for our country, for our souls. The songs just started coming, first of all. So it was like a personal exercise. And then after 6 or 7, you kind of realize, oh, I think this is an album. And one of those songs was actually American Gospel and Nothing to Say to the New York Times. So that was all in that kind of project of study, was these things started coming, and you just try to be honest. And, when songs come, they become removed from you. Like I feel that they are just these things that now exist in the world that then I can either release or not. And I'm not a naturally very combative person. I'm not very adversarial. And so I think twice before releasing songs that I think are going to like ruffle feathers or whatever. And usually my wife is the one who's like, that's too much, or definitely you need to release that. But studying Christ, you realize that, oh, this person is a very wild person. This person is a very unpredictable person. And no wonder they killed him, and no wonder we worship him. It's like both of those things come hand in hand. And I was just trying to present that person as faithfully as I could.
Obviously, it sounds like you've been very involved in the Christian faith your whole life, right? So you've studied Jesus your whole life, and then you spent this heavy, concentrated time, and maybe you thought you knew everything,
Yeah.
about Jesus. Um,
Yep.
were there any surprises? Was there something new that really hit you going back and reflecting on Jesus during this time period?
Coleridge, when he talks about the job of the poet, he says the job of the poet is to remove the film of familiarity from the familiar so that we can see it as shot through with a light from beyond itself. So he says that the whole point of good poetry, and I would say good art in general, is to almost reacquaint you with this thing that you have known your whole life. And that's what the book of John, the book of Matthew kind of was for me. It was kind of this reacquaintance with these things that like you said, I'd heard and studied even, and my dad's in ministry. And so it was kind of this reacquaintance of like, holy cow, I thought I knew who I was dealing with here. And in fact, I don't, and I'm so glad for that. And in terms of novelty, I don't think there was anything new per se, as much as it was like a familiar, like, oh yeah, like that felt new. There's real stakes that he's talking about. Again, the I just can't get past this quality of like length versus deepening. When Jesus talks about eternal life, the word eternal not only refers to a duration of time, it refers to a quality of a thing. So it's like the depth of life, the depth of the eternal in every given moment is so much of what he's calling us to. That feels significant for our times because we are so caught up in these almost surface level battles for power, for comfort, for wealth, these things that are very fleeting, these things that are very like, it's a replacement for the spiritual life, really. It's a counterfeit spiritual life. It's like money makes the same promises that God does. That's why we're so obsessed with it. And that's why Jesus says you can't serve God and money, because they're coming to you with the same offer. Security, you can rest easy, you can buy things that will give you pleasure. God is saying, I can in my presence are pleasures forevermore. I'm your security. If you're in my care, no real harm can come to you. Though you may die, though you may suffer, no real harm can actually. I mean, this is literally what money has been saying to us since the beginning of time. And but you don't really realize that that's the same voice unless you kind of get below the surface and realize that, down here at this layer, money can't actually do anything for me here. And how many more examples of people at their deathbed who are the richest people in the world are just like terrified, and we're like, what did I give my life to? What was that all about? And how many counterexamples do we have of people who had nothing, who died, and yet were luminous on their deathbeds? Yeah. Again, I feel like a deepening into the story has been kind of where the brightness, this whole season has been kind of a deepening into that story for me, and that's been a great gift.
Hmm. I'd love to explore how you see creation and how you see creation as sacred. So like I feel like you see it not just as this cause, but like as a reflection of the divine,
Yeah.
right? So like you've compared caring for the earth to the way parenting opens us to new dimensions of love.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah. Part of what it means to be a human being is to be kind of a caretaker of some kind. So the move towards autonomy is kind of a move away from what we're made to be and what we're made to do. Even though autonomy feels good at times. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-month-old at home, so my wife and I are caretaking to the max. There's no second that isn't accounted for. There's no moment of
Oh,
our
yeah,
day.
that.
Yeah. There's no moment of our day that can't be interrupted, and that's so stinking hard. But I know for a fact that I would not be the kind of person I am now had I not had that for the past 5 years. Like, being a father and caring about my role as a father is quintessential to my understanding of God, to who I am, if I'm a gentle person at this point in my life, it's only because I've been hewn at the rock of caretaking. And I think similarly, we dehumanize ourselves when we don't submit to that caretaking role in whatever way that looks like. And I think with creation, the conversation again happens on the surface level. It doesn't happen at the depth and degree to which we are meant to encounter creation. So creation is just, it's shot through with the light of God. God is at all time. I forget who. I think it was Abraham Joshua Heschel, in maybe his book on prayer, which is very random, says that the reason it's easier to meditate and pray in creation is because a tree is relating to God perfectly in its treeness. And the more proximity we have to that, the more proximity we have to holiness. And by holiness, he means something that is in its right relation to itself and to its source. So when we're like around trees and in nature and in the mountains, there's this kind of lifting of the soul that happens, provided, you're safe and have water and you're not about to die or whatever. But there's this lifting of the soul because we're in proximity to something that is in right relation to itself and to its source. And when we are in our right relation to ourselves and our source, we are holy. I mean, that's a definition of holiness. And so creation for a long time hasn't been seen as that. We see it as kind of this battleground for resources. We see it as a battleground for issues. We see it as, what are its functional uses? Is it, giving me food? Is it giving me shade? Is it giving me, I mean, it is those things. But I mean, you can almost track on a graph, the more industrialized societies have become, the more removed from the land we've gotten. Some things have gotten better and easier, but other things have not gotten better and easier and changed. And anecdotally, all the blue zones in the world, these are people who live a really long time, and they're also very in touch with water, earth, wind, rain, fire. And so I think when we see the world for what it was meant to be, naturally this thing is like, oh, I want to care for this thing. I want to actually be a part of life and not death. And that kind of has a multiplying effect. Every time we are caretakers, the caretaking has a multiplying effect outward. When my daughter was first born, my first daughter, um, and this is kind of, yeah, it's both embarrassing but it's really kind of proves the point. I almost couldn't kill like a bug for a long time
I
after that.
feel you on that. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
There's
Uh-huh.
like a power dynamic that
Yep.
became so stark, and I realized that my strength and my power and my privilege and my wealth and whatever actually was best used in service of this thing that was so vulnerable. And then I'd look at this bug that was not supposed to be in my living room, and instead of being like, "Oh, get out of," it was like something in me was like, "No, you actually just move this thing." And I take that to be actually a sign of growth and health. And even though I don't want, goodness, down here in Texas, the roaches are like gigantic. It's like they're basically like
Let's
roommates.
kill those.
Exactly. Let's kill them, or let's at least make it so I don't have to see them.
Yeah.
But whatever that is, it's like it generated this quality of care that, how is that not of God? And similarly, I think when we do think of the world, creation, the environment as something that is under our care, that's just a better way of making these decisions than just, well, what's most useful and what's going to be better for you know, even when we talk about the environment, like environmentalists, it feels very like it's like outside of an understanding of its divine origin as a creation of something that is cared for and not just this kind of like thing or something. It almost that doesn't feel totally accurate too, because then the environment becomes this thing to just beat the other people. Like, I'm going to beat you with this issue that um sure, I think we should, like, I'm with you on the surface, but like, can we talk about it, can we talk about life in a different way? Can we talk about, anyway? So I think we can fall off the horse in kind of both ways.
Yeah, and I think, what's helpful, what you're trying to say is I think of then your song from Climate Vigil Songs that you did together with Porter's Gate, right? And I listen to that a lot, and, oh, it just feels so amazing, and what you guys sing on that is, right, like, the kingdom is coming, and I feel like that's kinda is that kinda what you're saying? It's just, like, the
Absolutely.
way of talking about it is, like, are we hearing that from creation?
Absolutely. The first song on that album, Declaring Glory, it's from the perspective of the earth at creation, responding to God. And that kind of sums up, I think, even what I'm trying to say, which is just that God made everything. We are a part of that everything. And there's also other things that are a part of that everything. And all the visions of the kingdom that is coming, the new heavens and the new earth, include a renewed creation. It's not just us, you know, in a creationless world. There are trees there, there's rivers. I think there's going to be animals, and I'm not sure if that's in Revelation, but if it's not, it certainly should be. I mean, it's like a vision of like a renewed creation. We're just a part of it.
Hmm. So you mentioned your father is, in ministry,
Yeah.
and, I know I think that he's pastored a Hispanic church, correct? And so I'm curious about how has being also Latino spiritually shaped your theology? What has that addition brought to your theology and your spirituality?
I think two things. I mean, a combination of being Latino, but I think first it was kind of being a third culture kid.
Yeah.
So being a kid whose parents were of a culture, and then I'd go to school and suddenly I was in a different culture entirely. That kind of division between the home and public life culturally is very significant. But anybody who has this experience where whatever is happening at home culturally is different, there's just a unique way of navigating the world. There's an ability to kind of code switch. I think it's made me a little bit more attentive to subtle differences in culture with different people, and that I find to be a great gift as an artist, especially. And then at least my Latino culture is very large and very various. My mom is from Argentina. My dad is from Cuba. The culture is very vibrant. It's very, very warm, very, there's people, if I go back to my dad's church who maybe haven't seen me since I was a kid or something, they'll still come up and, kiss my cheek and give me a big hug. I mean, it's just a very like familial culture. And certainly that, I've taken that with me. Or I certainly just feel that's a part of, how I inhabit the world and who I am as an artist. I often am doing co-writes with other people, whether in Nashville or around the world. And sometimes I find there's like a musical, emotional juiciness that I'm willing to go to. And that is often in my own music that I release. But when I'm writing for other people, it can feel like too much.
Hmm.
And I find that is, directly because of my blood and my DNA. I just
Gotcha.
want it all. I want the richness. I want the chords to be like thick and chromatic. And I'm not afraid of that kind of like minor feel and just being, that kind of like whatever that like passion is. I think that's like running through me so deeply. And sometimes when I write co-writes, they're like, whoa, like, how about this simple chord? How about we don't play it that way? How about can we smooth out, and I don't, maybe it's a personality. I don't, but to me it feels very like that feels very Latin, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes. My kids are bicultural. So
Yeah.
my husband speaks a different language to them than I do, and so our kids
Wow.
have different experiences,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
it's I think it's a beautiful thing the more, and it
Yeah.
gives you a sense of learning, right?
Yeah.
If you're speaking in another language, right, that you're not fully comfortable with as your first language, then you have more empathy and understanding for someone
Yeah.
who's trying to speak a language. So you said that your music is Monday morning prayer music. Can you tell me what that means to you? Who are you thinking about when you're writing, and what do you hope to bring to people who are receiving your music?
I think that I am trying to invite people into a story. And that story is, I think, for me, it can only be told from me in a somewhat gentle way, at least at this point in my life. Who knows what I'm going to be into in 20, 30 years. But so much of what is labeled as Christian music, Christian art, is very loud and kind of forces you to feel things. It's almost like it's trying to fight with the very real noise, I think, that we're all living in at all times, whether it's external noise of, the busyness of life, internal noise, the anxiety, the stories that you're living in already. There's already a lot going on. And so to get people's attention culturally, we've just thought we've got to get like, this isn't just Christian culture, this is culture in general. We need to be louder. We need to be spectacle. We need to be, Avengers. We need to be like huge beats and huge anthemic choruses. And that's how we're going to fight the noise. And that's how we're going to fight for our attention. And I just fundamentally disagree with that premise. And that is not how God has gotten a hold of my heart and attention. And that's actually not where I've been healed. In fact, I think when I often the noise, it just contributes to the wounding and to the kind of distraction and the fragmentation of my psyche and my soul. And it's been in kind of silence and quiet that I found rest and healing. I mean, that's just literally just my speaking from the horse's mouth here. Like, this is just my Christian life has been greatly affected by stillness and quiet and prayer. And so I think my music, I'm again trying to just go after that and deepen that experience and hopefully offer that to people and invite them into an easy yoke, a light burden, a world in which there is a shepherd and we are under the shepherd's care. And also a world in which you don't actually need to tidily resolve the tensions and questions and wounds of your soul. You don't you don't need to
Absolutely.
go there and
Yeah.
find the bow. You can actually go there, look at it in the eye. I mean, you want to say like invite God into that, but realize that God's actually was there the whole time. That
Yep.
God wasn't scared of any of those things, and there's something healing about letting those things be what they are. And as a songwriter, there's something cathartic to me, and I've been doing this now 5, 6 years, writing kind of songs that maybe are a little bit more honest about some of these things. Cathartic for me, it helps me work them out, but I think it's cathartic for other people to listen to someone work out their stuff. Godward in a Godward way. What makes something Christian isn't the fact that it's neat and tidy right now. What makes something Christian is that it's pointed towards Christ in whatever shape it is. And that's it. Because we're in the middle of the story. We're not at the end of the story, and we won't be for a long time. And though there are these glimpses of, I think, of healing, restoration, I mean, I firmly believe that. I will testify to that till I'm blue in the face. But it's a disservice to the world and to your own soul to claim that everything is that right now immediately. So I think in silence and in quiet and in Monday morning prayer, in that kind of invitation to that stillness, I think all those things are kind of latent in that invitation.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that. I've been hearing that a lot lately on this podcast is, the we need to slow down.
Yeah.
We need to be more quiet. This is the antidote
Yeah.
to the bombastic. And it's hard because you do feel like, no, you gotta combat the noise with the
Yeah.
more noise. That's how you cut. And it's destroying
Yeah.
us. Right?
Yep.
Um, I can I can even remember, I'll give you an example of a time when, my father-in-law is from Europe and comes from a Catholic background, and I come from a mega church, non-denominational background, and, I brought him to a mega church, and, I thought it was awesome and cool and all the spectacle and the whole thing, and it was beautiful, and I asked him, like, what he thought at the end, and he was like, "Oh, I really did like the message and all that." He's like, "But where was the quiet? Where was the moment of reflection? Where was"
Yeah.
and I think, like, that is so important because Jesus talks about that so often,
Yeah.
right? Is like and he models that, is like, we are supposed to be taking this time to have reflection and silence
Yeah.
in order to have rest for our minds and to also model that around, and I wonder how we can do that better in our church communities, in our Christian communities.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, that unfortunately there's a lot of strategy that says that actually isn't going to keep people in the seats. And I think, the kind of megachurch model has been useful towards certain ends. And I don't want to just, bash that unnecessarily, but
Right.
there does need to be if not a counterbalance, a return to, um, I think this is the greatest thing we can offer the world. If we're talking strategy and pragmatically, actually, the greatest thing we can offer in the world is a quiet place to sit. Like, that's it. How many people have when they travel, I remember college, I went to Europe with some friends and, the backpacking thing for a couple weeks. And oh, what a gift it was to walk by a beautiful old chapel or cathedral in Italy and just get a quiet place to rest. And what a ministry that would be if that was part of a ministry of a church. We're here for people to come and rest, and that'd be crazy. Like, hey, from 9 to 11 or from these hours, it's going to be quiet. You can come in and just sit for a bit, versus, I don't know, the programming that often takes the place of the rest.
Yeah. So there are a lot of people right now in the United States, all over the world as well, who have left their church spaces, their local church spaces for one reason or
Yeah.
another. Part of it might be from disillusionment or weariness but they don't want to lose that connection to Jesus and to God. People don't have that connection to worship
Mm.
music like they used to, and man, that was such a big part of
Yeah.
weekly life, right? And when I ask people a lot, like, what do you miss about church community besides the people in the gathering? It's that collective music in
Mm.
person. And I just wonder, what hope do you have for Christians now or for people who are raised in church who miss that so much, who aren't comfortable going back to a local church maybe for whatever reason. They're like, "I can't be in that space anymore." But I miss and I need to connect with music, but, like, I also can't listen to CCM music because it's triggering or traumatic or, there's too much in there that I don't know how to connect with Jesus in music anymore.
Mm.
Like, do you have thoughts on that for people out there who just need ways to do that?
Definitely. I mean, there's an artist named Jon Guerra who you should listen to, and
Yeah.
and also an artist named Jess Ray and Andy Squires. there are a few of us who, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people like this that come to my concerts. I am a firm believer that um, movement towards God sometimes looks different for different people.
Absolutely.
Sometimes staying in the place out of fear, whether staying at your church, staying in your mode of faith that you've been with for your whole life, it might be scary to move on from that, but sometimes that's exactly where God is calling you. It's calling you to move on from that and to, like Abraham, go to this place that I will show you. I'm not going to tell you about it, but I'm going to show you when you get there. And I think that is a scary place to be. I mean, so um, just because it's scary, just because it's even you feel that sense of loss, doesn't necessarily mean uh, you're doing something wrong. And I am very much encouraged by, I think there was kind of a deconstruction was kind of all the rage, felt like a few years ago. And the conversations, the people were kind of self-identifying this way. And it started to feel a little to me like it was just kind of trading one identity for another. And it like, well, deconstructing, now you got a lot of pieces. How are you going to, now where are you? Like now, what is the thing that you're moving towards in radical um, faith, hope? Where are you finding the light in the world? Um, and some people just dismantle the whole thing, and they're like, "Well, I don't believe in God anymore, and I don't believe in the church." And um, don't have very much to say to them, but to the people who are like, "I can't do that, but what is it?" Um, I would just encourage you. There is something, and the Christian faith is capacious enough to have a place for you. I really believe that, and I'm very much still a Christian in a ancient sense, in that, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I believe that Jesus Christ and the Spirit of Christ that is sensible and accessible is the most compelling way to move through the world that I know of, and has been such a source of light and brilliance and wonder and freedom, and is the only thing that makes sense when those things are gone too. It's like at the center
Mhm.
of the faith is tragedy, is crucified perfect person. I think it was Moltmann, this German theologian who was trying to make sense of the Holocaust, working in the 1940s and 50s, said all theology must be conducted within earshot of the crucified Christ. Like, whatever your ultimate modus operandus is, your mental architecture, it has to make sense of the darkness and the tragedy and the absolute dissonance, and it has to make sense of all the tears in the world, and that
Yeah.
I haven't found another story that makes sense of all the tears in the world, except for the story of Christ crucified, and then the radical claim that there is a goodness, there is a love, there is a light that all the tears in the world can't drown out, and that death can't even stop that goodness, light, and love. I'm in the business of finding beautiful things and grab hold of them and reflect them and take my little fingers and my hands on these instruments and make it so that we can, and that to me is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And I think that that's the story that maybe people who have left the church forget, and maybe because they've been in places where it's all about winning and victory, and it's like, no, 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 actually the light is there, the light is down there, and maybe if you're deflecting from the church into that, then you're going to find Jesus there too. At least I hope you do, and I think you will, and you can.
I have a heart full of questions, quieting all my suggestions. What is the meaning of Christian in this American life? I'm feeling awfully foolish, spending my life on a message. I look around and I wonder ever if I heard it right. Coming to you cause I'm confused, coming to you cause I feel used, coming to weep while I'm waiting Tell me you won't make me go. I need to know there's justice, that it will roll in abundance, and that you're building a city where we arrive as immigrants, and you call us citizens, and you welcome us as children home. You were alone and rejected, misunderstood and detested. You gave it all, didn't hold back. You even gave up your life. How can we call ourselves Christians, saying that love is a tension between the call of the cross and between the old party line? Coming to you for the mothers who are all running for cover. There is a flood from their weeping. Tell me you won't make them go. I need to know there is justice, that it will roll in abundance, and that you're building a city where we arrive as immigrants, and you call us citizens, and you welcome us as children home. There is a man with a family. He has a wife and a baby. He broke the law just to save him, working for $3 an hour. Truly you said we were equal. Everyone's heart is deceitful. Everyone born is illegal. One love is the law of the land. Coming to you for the hungry, eating the scraps of this country. Didn't you swear you would feed them? Tell me you won't make them go. I need to know there is justice, that it will roll in abundance, and that you're building a city where we arrive as immigrants, and you call us citizens, and you welcome us as children home. Ranting, all of the sheep, they're clapping, promising power and protection, claiming the Christ who was killed by a common consensus. Everyone's screaming Barabbas, trading their God for a hero, forfeiting heaven for Rome. And coming to you cause I'm angry, coming to you cause I'm guilty, coming to you cause you promised to leave the flock for the one. I need to know there is justice, that it will roll in abundance, and that you're building a city where we arrive as immigrants, and you call us citizens, and you welcome us as children home. Is there a way to love always, living in enemy hallways? I don't know my foes from my friends, and I don't know my friends anymore. Power has several prizes. Handcuffs can come in all sizes. Love has a million disguises, but winning is simply not one.
Are you ready for a lightning round at the end?
Yes.
All right, here we go. A Christian phrase or church cliche you wish we'd retire.
Bless your heart, which I know is very Southern too. So I'm sorry for my Southern brothers and sisters, but I can't hear that and not kind of wince a little bit.
Something that you used to believe but have since let go of.
Oh, that God rewards me for good behavior.
A spiritual practice that you still enjoy.
Devos.
A worship song that stirs your soul.
Miracle Services by Andy Squires.
Question you're still carrying.
How long?
A Bible verse that means something to you.
Jesus wept.
Some hope that you have for the world.
Jesus wept.
What do you like to do for fun these days?
Get on my bike with my 5-year-old and go to Barton Springs, which is a natural pool that is like a mile away from our house.
Beautiful. Jon Guerra, thank you so much for joining us today. And I can't wait to come see you at your next concert.
Thanks, Alexis, for having me. Really great to chat.
Thanks for joining us today on The Sacred Slope. May the fruit of the Spirit blossom in you and guide you this week. If you feel moved to share your story, post it on social media and tag The Sacred Slope. To nominate a pastor, priest, or clergy member for the show, email me at alexis@thesacredslope.com. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and download wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Alexis Rice. Go in peace, friends.
Give to everyone who asks of you. Be good to everybody, no matter who. Do to them as you'd have them do to you. Love your enemies. No greater love is there than this. I laid down my life, now I do it again. Gave it to you, so give it to them. Love your enemies. Love, love, love your enemies and be children of your Father in heaven. Children of your Father in heaven. Turn the other cheek, put down your fist. Give up your coat if someone asks for it. What have you got that you are not given? Give everything. And when the sun sets on your labor, turning the tides but not in your favor, love is a rescue and it'll save you. For love, love, love your enemies and be children of your Father in heaven. Children of your Father in heaven. If you love those who love you, what good is it? What good is it? What good is it? If you hate those who hate you, what good is it? Well, it's no good at all. If you love those who love you, what good is it? What good is it? What good is it? If you gain the whole world but lose your soul, well, it's no good at all. It's no good at all.